Okay. Amitabh ji, in deference to your model of engagement today, I'm jumping the first part. I was actually going to talk about the good things about what we all like, which is climax of anything, in life, for any endeavor that you get into. The make or break part of the situation is the climax. And in an e-commerce enterprise, if you look at it, you take all the effort to build that website. You pay that ponytail guy tons of money to build that beautiful website for you. You go and, entice customers to come onto your website, and you seduce him into looking at your products and buying your products. And then when the entire sales process is done, what happens? When the guy wants to pay, boom, everything falls flat because there's no payment gateway. So as I see it, okay, the climax of any e-commerce operation is to have a beautiful payment system in place which allows the customer to pay for it. Do not give that customer the chance after you have done all the hard work to walk away without paying you and completing the sale. So I look at some of the aspects that make a great payment gateway, and while I get into that aspect, one point that I would like to answer about business, I agree with Amitabh ji in terms of the number of businesses that are there. We don't really have enough business in this country in terms of e-commerce as we say it, apart from, let's say, travel. And there are some reasons for it. People say bandwidth, people say customers are not there. I say there are not enough businesses out there. If businesses come online and create value for customers, the customers will come there. Today there are not enough businesses online. You have millions of websites in the US, you have 5,000-6,000 odd websites in India. That's it. And how are you going to compete and create value for your customers? So I think that one of the key points about growing business in this country is more businesses coming online and participate. I'll just jump to right. So I'll just take you through 4 thoughts that I have about what goes into making a great payment gateway. First question, of course, is what are the payment options? Ultimately, in the end, the guy has to pay. And if he doesn't pay, the entire deal is dead. So we have a lot of merchants that have come to me and said, hey, you know what? I accept credit cards on my website. I'm very happy. Sure. Be prepared to lose customers because you're a frog living in a well. There are a lot of new payment options that are emerging today, which are outside the scope of cards. And there are reasons for it. First of all, Indians are uncomfortable about owing money. Non-credit based methods are gaining in popularity. I think Sanjay Bhai showed you in the morning that Indian Railways is a great example of how you see other payment options coming to fore. So cash cards, phone payments, they're all growing exponentially. Now, as a merchant, you can't go and tie up with each one of these payment options and plug them into your website. It's a lot of effort, a lot of trouble. So what do? Do you pick and choose which ones to go, or you just do something else, which is do what all the millions of Indians do, give them a thali. Entire range of payment options all on one site. So you have something for everyone. If a customer sitting in Jammu and Kashmir wants to pay through his Jammu and Kashmir bank account, he can do it. Of course, a customer down south in Tamil Nadu wants to pay through his Karur Vaishya bank account, he can pay it. There is no chance for the customer to walk away from the transaction, and he has to complete that transaction. So a good payment gateway provider will give you a wide range of payment options which nobody else can do and you can't do on your own. Moving on to the second part. Yes, the e-commerce does involve transactions revolving around the website, but it is not limited to the website. There are a lot of situations where the website may trigger off a transaction, but actually there may be other intricacies involved in the transaction process which requires you to do maybe, let's say, telephonic negotiations or which says off-site sales. So how does the payment gateway help you in expanding your scope of business? Does it give you the tools and tales? Let's say, does it give you the force multipliers? Right? Let me show you some of the force multipliers that a typical payment gateway would give you. A built-in shopping cart, if you don't have time to market and you want to start your business straight away without building your own shopping cart, does it give you a free shopping cart? Does it give you a virtual terminal? Let's say you're in an exhibition somewhere abroad and you actually have some buyer who wants to pay you. You don't have a POS terminal available for you. What do? You log into your dashboard, collect his card data, and let the transactions go through. Invoice facilities. If you do a telephonic negotiations with somebody and you want to collect money, just email him an invoice with a secure payment gate link. He'll make a payment and the money comes into you. You don't have to be stuck to your PC all the time to check how your business is doing. If you get an order, does it alert you through an SMS saying that there's an order that has come in? Please service that order. If a transaction fails, and it happens because of various ecosystem issues, okay, what do? Is there a feature which allows you to go back to the customer and say, hey, why don't you complete the sale? Auction collections. If you're doing an auction, a winning bidder has to get money, right? IVRS payments. Today, you have an unknown face calling you and saying, hey, sir, would you like to make a payment? Please give me your card number with the CVV details and everything, and we'll make sure everything goes through. Will you be smart enough to actually do that, or keep it to you? So, a new IVRS system which allows you to electronically put in the data without going through the operator, right, makes it safer, relatively safer, for you to do those transactions. Co-marketing through bank malls. If you have relationships with the banks that the payment gateway offers, can it help you to do co-marketing? In the end, a strong payment gateway will provide you with an array of tools which will help you expand the scope of your business. So that's the second aspect of what a good payment gateway will do. The third aspect, which we all, is a very sensitive issue and we all are familiar about, is risk management and fraud protection. There are two ways of doing it. Today, risk management is a dynamic function. Customers are always exposed to fraud, and fraudsters are always one step ahead of the authorities. And this is a cat and mouse game that happens all the time. You have new processes coming in, you have new criminal methods of doing it, handling the transaction. So, for an average merchant to keep up with the fraud today is very, very, very difficult. You need a specialist to come in, and you need a specialist who does this all the time, day in and day out. So, is there a payment gateway which helps you this? We all know the story of credit cards. Credit cards, as they are today, were never ever meant for online use. I think even the credit card companies say that, right? The fact is, the two-factor authentication of the CVV number and the expiry date was not enough, very clearly, and you were exposed to a lot of frauds. The new methods of verified by Visa, MasterCard secure code, these processes that were put into place, the banks dilly-dallied. They dilly-dallied for a long time, and RBI had to step in and put in a mandate saying by August 1st, you have to put this third factor authentication or you're in trouble. Only when the RBI did this kind of a mandate, did banks go and implement this. So there is certain amount of protection, but that's only till fraudsters figure out a way to bypass that. So essentially, what I'm saying is that here's an example of credit card companies saying, hey, it's really safe, to transact online. And this is way back in 2003, okay? Things have not changed much. We all know the crores of rupees that merchants in India have lost because of credit card fraud. So the point is, you need beyond just transaction mapping into actual looking into every transaction that comes through and figure out techniques and methods that minimize the risk and fraud. So does a payment gateway offer you all this? Things like negative database mapping, all this list. I'm not going to go into the entire list. I think you can look into it. In terms of your customer data, is it protected very well? Right? All these are some of the critical issues that a good payment gateway and a strong payment gateway will do. Why does the payment gateway have to do this? Simple. Because everybody gains from a customer who's secure. Everybody gains when a customer feels that my card data is safe when I transact through this website. And it's in benefit for all of us. That is why we get into this. Lastly, fair pricing. Now, how do you pay a fair price for a good payment gateway? What is a good price? We all debate and fight and negotiate a very, very good rate. But ultimately, when it comes down to this, a lot of merchants say, hey, lower the price, better the value, right? Is it really so? Because you have to pay a fair price, because if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. And how do you get monkeys? Well, let's say this way. If you say, okay, I'll pay you, I'll accept a little less money from you, a less percentage, a less TDR from you, you start cutting corners as a businessman, and you'll say, okay, can I cut down on my support? Can I cut down on my development work in terms of upgrading my software? Can I do some cutting corners here, some cutting corners there? Ultimately, you lose out. And here are some of the lists of things that a bad payment gateway will do for you. Poor risk management, very, very limited payment options, very bad software, which does not move with the times and the requirements, an unresponsive, responsive staff, which does not help you when you're in a time of need, when transactions are failing. So these are some of the risks of going with a bad payment gateway. Ultimately, it comes down to the fact that there are over 50 payment options in India today, and they're all growing. There are many, many systems to manage, integrate, process, handle, and also to do the reconciliation. There are huge challenges, and ultimately you need a payment gateway partner who will actually keep up with the entire moving situation and scenario, and does that as a specialized role rather than a generalist role. And ultimately they also need to be well connected to the key members in the ecosystem, so that when issues come to fore, they should be able to handle it with elan. So ultimately, as a merchant, if you want to grow, if you want to come into this business, you have to have a strong partner who's backing you in this and who's helping you through. Right? After all, when it comes down to payments, it is the climax that matters, right? So that's what I'm saying. Thank you.